Hello, and welcome to the Lessons Unlocked podcast. I'm your host, Colleen McCracken. I've been looking for ways to increase music education accessibility, and I believe that this podcast can make a difference. The Lessons Unlocked podcast uses a virtual platform to engage with student musicians through masterclass style instruction. Students may submit a recording of their playing for in-depth feedback to be shared with all listeners. This way, students who submit can get feedback, and any other student with access to the podcast can learn from the masterclass. There's also a Q&A section to the podcast, so please submit any questions that come up for you. This week's name to know is Ian Anderson. Widely recognized as the man who introduced the flute to rock music, Ian Anderson remains the crowned exponent of the popular and rock genres of flute playing. Ian is known for providing the flute and vocals in the iconic rock band Jethro Tull. Ian also plays non-Western flutes and whistles together with acoustic guitar and the mandolin family of instruments, providing the acoustic textures which has been an integral part of most of the Jethro Tull repertoire. Anderson has so far recorded 7 diverse solo albums in his career. 1983's Walk into Light, the flute instrumental Divinities album for EMI's classical music division in 1995, which reached number 1 in the relevant Billboard chart, the acoustic collections of song The Secret Language of Birds, and Groupies Dance. In a more progressive rock context, he recorded Thick as a Brick 2 in 2012 and Homo Eroticus in 2014. Released in 2017, the classically inspired album Jethro Tull, The String Quartets reached number 1 in the Billboard classical charts. Anderson lives on a farm in the southwest of England where he has a recording studio and office. He has been married for 42 years to Shona, who is also an active director of their music and other companies. His hobbies include the growing of many varieties of hot chili peppers, the study and conservation of the 26 species of small wild cats of the world, and the appreciation of mechanical watches, fountain pens, and vintage cameras. In 2006, he was awarded a doctorate in literature from the Heriot-Watt University in Edinburgh, the Ever Award for International Achievement in Music, and in the New Year's Honors List 2008, an MBE for services to music. In 2011, he received another doctorate in literature from Dundee University. This week's piece of the week is Bourrée in E minor by J.S. Bach. Bourrée in E minor is a popular lute piece, the 5th movement from Suite in E minor, written by Johann Sebastian Bach between 1708 and 1717. The piece is arguably one of the most famous among guitarists. A bourrée was a type of dance that originated in France with a quick duple meter and an upbeat. Though the bourrée was popular as a social dance and shown in theatrical ballet during the reign of Louis XIV of France, the bourrée in E minor was not intended for dancing. Nonetheless, some of the elements of the dance are incorporated in this piece. Jethro Tull used the first 8 bars of the piece as the basis for the song Bourrée from their 1969 album Stand Up. Like many Jethro Tull songs, it prominently features Ian Anderson's flute playing. The song also includes a bass guitar solo played by Glenn Cornick on the original recording. I highly encourage you to check out both the standard version and the Jethro Tull version of this song. If you are looking for the standard version, you'll want to search up Bourrée in E minor, J.S. Bach. And for the Jethro Tull version, you'll just want to search Bourree and then Jethro Tull. The organization highlight for this episode is the Seattle Flute Society. The Seattle Flute Society is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that was founded in 1979. To honor all things flute, the SFS presents a yearly season of events, including recitals, masterclasses, workshops, and competitions. Each event features local, national, or international distinguished artists in all avenues of playing, performers of classical, jazz, baroque, contemporary, and world music. Their members are amateur and professional flutists, teachers, students, flute makers, accompanists, listeners, patrons, anyone interested in the flute. The SFS also sponsors a flute choir, which rehearses weekly and is open to all members. The SFS season typically runs from September through April. Most events throughout the season take place on weekends. Every April, they hold their annual Flute Festival, a flute-filled day of activities including a workshop and recital with a high-caliber guest artist, a flute choir showcase, their all-member and young members recitals, and commercial exhibits where instruments, music, accessories, and other flute-related merchandise are exhibited, demonstrated, and sold. Our performer today is Caleb from North Carolina. I am so excited to hear Caleb play today. He is going to be performing Gavotte, and Caleb, take it away. Excellent performance, Caleb. Thank you so much for sending this in. Let's get into some advice that I have for you on this piece. Really nice start. I like your choice of tempo. I think that we could be a little bit softer here. It does say piano, and I think you're capable of going softer. And it looks like for this piece, piano is as soft as we're gonna get. So I would go as soft as you can. And then maybe in the next coming measures, we can grow a little bit, and I'll talk about that once we get there. Something I think we could do to make these opening 8 measures a little bit more interesting. I know that the composer just writes a piano and doesn't give us any more dynamic guidance up until measure 9, but at measure 9 it says piano again. So to me, that says that we're allowed to grow until then, because why would he reiterate piano if we weren't allowed to move between the two pianos? You know what I mean? So I think let's do some tier dynamics. So we'll do the first 2 measures piano, next 2 measures mezzo piano, next 2 measures mezzo forte, and then the final 2 measures forte. And that's going to provide a lot of contrast going into measure 9, which is where we're headed. Something else I think you should add would be to grow on those 3 quarter notes. So da 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 da. He gives us that crescendo in measure 12, but not measure 10. I think it's implied that it should be there in measure 10, but I think you should do like a subito piano, go back to piano in measure 11. So we kind of get that effect twice. Okay, let's keep going. Nice writ. I wonder if you could almost add a fermata over the rest. So dum bum bum. Dee da 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 dee da 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 dum ba-dum bum. That just feels a little bit more playful and fun to me. So I would experiment with that. So kind of like the beginning, we have the situation where we have these 8 bars and we have 4 bars forte, 4 bars forte. And I don't think you should play it that way. I think that can get a little bit boring to the listener. Really nice work. I think I totally respect not wanting to do the repeats, but I would still do the DC Alfine just to kind of adhere to the format of the piece. It is kind of this ABA form, and I think we do want to honor that even when we don't do repeats. So if you were to submit this for something else or perform this for a solo and ensemble, for example, I would recommend that you go ahead and do the DC Alfine, even if you choose to not take repeats. I want to say good job on getting that low D out at the very end. The low register is very challenging on the flute, so props to you for being able to get that out. It's okay that it was a little late to me. It speaks late. So do your best to try to compensate for that and start attacking the note before it's due to be heard. But yeah, nice job on getting it out. That's a challenge for sure. Now I want to kind of get into the more general sound of your playing. You're doing a really nice job, but I think that you could get a little bit more control of your sound. So I'm going to take you through an exercise. It's called the sweet spot exercise. And I'm actually going to get my head joint out and try to demonstrate it. And if you have any questions, please follow up with me and I'd be happy to help you out a little more. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring the head joint up to our mouth and then we're just going to blow. And so that is our starting point. And what we're going to do is we're going to start by moving it to the left. And we're going to experiment and listen and react to how that sounds. Okay, so when I go all the way to the left, it doesn't sound as good for me. And when I move more towards center, it sounds better for me. Now let's try moving it just to the right. Again, moving it all the way to the right is a little bit not great for me, but moving it more toward the center is better for me. Now, keep in mind, this is going to be different for everyone. If it sounds better, like slightly to the left or slightly to the right, that's great. This is all about finding what's going to work out best for you. So now that we have an idea of where horizontally on the face we want to be, we can work on where we want to be vertically, so up and down on the chin. So I'm going to go to my default spot, and then I'm going to try bringing the head joint up toward my mouth. So for me, that wasn't ideal. Let's try moving it down and see what that does. Okay, so all the way down isn't great for me. And then kind of when I hit, I have a kind of bump in my chin under my lip. And when the bottom of the lip plate is resting there, that's when I'm making my best sound personally. So this is a great exercise just to try to help you find your sweet spot. And there is one more thing we can do. We can roll in and out. So I'm going to go to my spot that we found with the up and down. And now we're going to roll in and see how that affects the sound. Ignore the pitch for now. We're going for tone quality rather than pitch. Pitch is something that we can address later. So I rolled in, and yes, the pitch went down. How did the quality sound though? For a moment there, it actually sounded a hair better. Just the tiniest bit rolled in more than I normally am. That sounded pretty good to me. And now we can also try rolling out more. So I'm going to go to my default spot and then roll out. For me, I tend to play pretty rolled out, so there wasn't a whole lot of room for me to go with that. But I would recommend doing all three of those exercises, so sideways, up and down, and rolling in and out, just to help find what's going to be best for you with the flute. There's no one way that works for everybody. Everybody's embouchure is going to be slightly different. So as long as it's comfortable and you're creating what you feel like is a great sound, you're doing it right. I also want to invite anyone listening to add any advice you might have for Caleb down in the comments. If you have any kind words of wisdom or thoughts on how he could improve even more, those are certainly welcome. Before we move on, I just want to take a moment to give Caleb a round of applause wherever you are, unless you're driving. If it is safe to do so, please give Caleb a little round of applause or, add some clapping emojis in the comments for him. Thank you so much for sending this in. I really appreciate it. And there's so much to learn from your playing. Thank you. Now we're going to move on to a quick Q&A. Our first question is, how do you stay consistent with practicing when motivation is low? That's a really great question. I think it's really important to find something that you really enjoy playing, and have that be the first thing that you're going to do in your practice session. And even if that were to be the only thing that you did that entire session, that's better than not playing at all, you know? So what I like to do is I like to play along to pop music. I'm actually in the process of developing a warm-up book of warm-ups that go along with popular Taylor Swift songs, because I find that that is the most motivating way to get me to do all of my warm-up exercises and all of my technique exercises, especially on the days when I'm not feeling super motivated. So find a version of that that works for you. That could be, you know, improvising over your favorite song, or Olivia Rodrigo just released a great new song. So maybe trying to learn that by ear is what gets the instrument out of the case for you today. But it's less about playing exactly what you have to play on those low motivation days, and more playing something. Something is always better than nothing. However, always keep in mind your health and safety. If you're experiencing pain, that is always an indication to stop. How do you prepare for high pressure performances or auditions? This is a great question. I definitely do a lot of recording myself and listening back. I get nervous when I record myself. Even when I'm recording this podcast, I get a little nervous. But definitely when I'm playing the flute, it's good to get some of the nerves out with recording and playing for a camera. But I also am able to listen back to those recordings and have a more critical ear and see what needs to change and what needs to be better. Another great thing to do is to organize mock auditions. I've done many mock auditions throughout my life, and they are almost always more terrifying than the actual audition. And that's by design. I recommend finding someone you really respect, someone you really want to impress, or maybe even someone who makes you nervous, someone who you aren't super close with, and you just think really highly of their playing. And you know that playing for them is going to make you nervous, then that's a great person to play for. Our next question is, how do you navigate big life transitions? This isn't super music focused, but it's actually very relevant for me right now because I am about to move to Dublin, Ireland. Yay! I'm so excited. And I am navigating that by going to therapy and listing out all of the steps that I need to go through. And then I try to pick one or two of those steps to tackle each day, rather than just looking at the massive list of everything that needs to get done and just kind of panicking. Breaking it down into smaller things that are a little bit more manageable is kind of the way to do those big life transitions. Another thing, for anyone who's moving anywhere, it's important to find connection with where you're going. So try to connect with people. So, you know, you'll at least have a friend there when you arrive, or someone you can go grab coffee with at some point. That's just good for your well-being, and it helps provide a sense of security. Our final question is a really good one. It's, can you share a moment where everything went wrong and what you learned from it? Let me tell you about a time that everything went wrong. I'm at a summer music festival. Was I 22? 21 or 22? I think I was 21. That's not super important to the story. I am competing in the final round of the concerto competition for this summer music festival, and I have to perform from memory, and it's my second time performing from memory, my first time being in the semifinal round. And I'm such a liar. I did a thing from memory in high school. Okay, it was my first time doing something from memory since high school, so it had been a while. And I was terrified, and I was going through a lot in my personal life, and I was having a really hard time locking in and just being in the moment and being with the music. And I had so many mistakes in that performance. It was so embarrassing. I was a complete wreck after. And the world kept spinning, and my career did not die. At the end of the day, it really wasn't that deep. It was a competition that I didn't win. There are many competitions that I haven't won, and that's just another one. It was an honor to make it to the final round. It was a growth experience to prepare to play from memory. And at the end of the day, I had a bad day, and I couldn't lock in. So What does Taylor Swift say? Failure brings you freedom. It really did, because I was like, you know what? I just feel like I have made a fool of myself in front of everybody. And now I'm feeling a lot more confident because, I feel like I kind of hit rock bottom. And I realized that I didn't actually hit rock bottom, but that's how I felt at the time. So I was like, well, can't get more embarrassing than that. So I went into everything else with a lot more confidence, because I wasn't worried about what everyone thought, because I already had this idea of like, well, I've already done pretty poorly, so it's only up from here, right? And since then, I've been a lot less scared of failure. I think failing is really important. Not to say that experience was a failure, but it felt like it at the time. And yeah, it was an experience that I think every musician needs to have. Unfortunately, I think we all need to go through a performance where we're like, wow, I'm really disappointed in how that went. I'm feeling really, really low and just embarrassed and upset. It's a canon event, and that's going to happen to everybody. But on the other side of it, you're going to know that like a bad performance doesn't end your career. A bad performance does not determine your worth as a human being. And the world is going to keep spinning after a bad performance, and it's all going to work out just fine. Before I wrap up today's episode, I want to share some exciting podcast news. My project, the Lessons Unlocked podcast, has advanced to the final round of the National Flute Association Create Award competition. Let me tell you a little bit about what this is. So this competition is designed to reward new thinking and viable, innovative ideas. The title, Creating Resources Through Engagement, Artistry, Teamwork, and Entrepreneurship, encourages flutists to take concrete steps towards giving their ideas life. I am so honored to be a finalist for this. I am so proud of this podcast. I am excited to continue to grow with this podcast. I'm excited to see where we can take this and how we can continue to make individualized music instruction even more accessible, and how we can really just help flutists of all backgrounds be the best flutists that they can be. So if you are going to be at the National Flute Association convention this year, I will be there too. So please come say hi. I would love to meet you. And I might be bringing some Lessons Unlocked merch along. So keep an eye out for that. Thank you all so much for tuning in to this episode of the Lessons Unlocked podcast. Huge thanks to our performer of the day, Caleb, and thank you to all of you for continuing to be a part of this community. As you head out into your weekend, I encourage you to listen to Bourrée by Jethro Tull / Bourrée by J.S. Bach. And of course, thank you to all the music educators who are working hard to make music accessible and meaningful for their students. I'll be back soon with more. Until then, happy practicing and bye for now.